You mentioned those protesters, and I want to talk about them because protests erupted in Iran in late December and January, and the regime killed thousands of them, arrested thousands more. And President Trump, at the time, he had really harsh words for the regime, and he told those protesters to keep protesting. Help is on the way. MAGA, make Iran great again. But now he is negotiating, the Trump administration's negotiating with Iranian officials when it comes to the nuclear program. Have we forgotten about those protesters? Is help on the way for them? Does America have their back?
When we talk about help for Iranian protesters, we need to realize it would not be a symbolic attack against the, let's say, repression apparatus. So to truly, really aid the civic movement that, of course, is inherently anti-Islamist, it is very pro-America, and it has been fighting against this Islamic Republic for, at this point, decades now. So any aid for that needs to go beyond non-kinetic options. I know we've explored different areas, such as providing internet, or things of that nature. That said, that is in the past. There's no really way out but through. So if there were any discussions for having quote-unquote help on the way, we need to ensure that we really go after this repression apparatus. We're talking about bases of the RGC, of the Basij, the actual entities that are killing protesters on the street. Now, if you were to take a kinetic campaign that far, you would have to expect retaliation from the Islamic Republic. And in order to really fight it back against that, you need to deploy the fleet. So it's understandable that if that is actually on the agenda to aid this ongoing movement, we need to have enough forces in the region to ensure that the Islamic Republic would not retaliate, and if it does, we can actually fight back. So that is really the trigger over there. But I think the main takeaway from the recent developments was that Iranians on the ground were really receptive to foreign intervention. From their perspective, any aid is necessary when they're battling this repressive regime that has opened fire, like we said, on tens of thousands using terror proxies. So any notion expressing that Iranians somehow can deal with this on their own at this point is no longer realistic. And even from their perspective, foreign intervention is already in place, given that there are different foreign militias inside Iran actually killing Iranians. So we're really at a point of no return here. And given how paranoid the Islamic Republic is, if we were not to fight back against this repression right now, we don't really know what's going to happen. But what we do know is that they're going to unleash a new wave of crackdowns on these protesters.
And based on what you know, based on the sources that you have in Iran, how do Iranians right now feel about the Trump administration and President Trump himself? Because he did say, keep protesting, we're going to help you. Do they feel that President Trump is helping, or help is imminently coming? Or do they feel that President Trump didn't keep his word on that and perhaps abandoned these protesters?
The momentum is gradually fading. The window of opportunity is very limited, because if you're going to go after this regime without putting boots on the ground, which has been the desire from everyone. I don't think Washington has any ambitions to actually do a similar campaign like Iraq or Afghanistan. So we're talking about simply air support and perhaps maybe some operational capacity on the ground using intelligence services, but that's a bit separate. So if that's how you're going to go about it, you need to ensure that the population is on your side and you're effectively communicating to them. I do think Iranians saw what happened in May 2025 prior to the 12-day war. Negotiations were ongoing, but that said, that did not deter an attack against the Islamic Republic. If anything, exhausting all diplomatic options would further legitimize the military campaign, because the ball is in Tehran's court, and if they refuse to provide any meaningful concessions, then that would really pave the way for a meaningful attack that ideally would not again be symbolic. We have to keep in mind this time around also Europe is increasingly on this side. They designated the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps as a terror organization, which means we're increasingly gaining international legitimacy to actually fight back against this apparatus really, and be able to really leverage and capitalize on this ongoing momentum to ensure that America would have an ally in a very turbulent region, because as we said, this civic movement is increasingly pro-America, pro-Israel, and anti-Islamist.
I do